Good afternoon and welcome to the Virtual Graphic Novel Club. My name is Erica.
And I'm rolling.
And we are coming to you guys this afternoon to talk about one of the vampires in Marvel, and his name is Morbius.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna jump right on in.
Yeah, we're going to jump right on in, and we're going to first start off with the introduction, and then we're going to just jump into some main characters. I don't know. We're kind of kicking this off to kick off. The movie was supposed to come out this January, but a little change in Marvel's lineup is pushing it, I think, back to March due to COVID restrictions being put back on in places in the country. So, you guys are getting an early preview of it. So we're going to jump right into the introduction. In 1971, Morbius, the living vampire, debuted in Amazing Spider-Man number 101. Stan Lee did not create this character, but he commissioned writer Roy Thomas and artist Gil Kane to come up with a vampire villain for Peter Parker to fight. This was done because the comics code was becoming a little bit lenient at this time, and so he wanted to capitalize on that. I was reading about that last week. So you could put monsters and stuff back in. I think like when we talked about Swamp Thing, and we mentioned how the comics code became kind of lax, and DC starts pushing all this monster comics. Monster comics were big in the 30s, 40s, and then the 50s come around, comics code. And it erases that because you can't have scary things to this nature and violence in comics. And so 70s come around and the comics code is no one's paying attention to it anymore. And so Stan Lee is like, let's get on top of this and start. Not only Marvel started pushing out not just this, but other monster comics in their
we'll actually talk about some of them.
Okay. So Michael Morbius was born and raised in Naples. I feel like that's not a real place. Anyway, Greece. They kill me with this. Michael experienced an isolated childhood due to his rare blood condition. Despite his disease, he was intellectually gifted and spent a lot of his time reading books. Michael had two best friends, Emil Nikos and his sister Liza Nikos. The three of them were close as family, but complications arose when he professed his feelings to Elizabeth and she rejected him. While in college, Michael and Emil became brilliant scientists, winning the Nobel Prize for their work in biochemistry. They attempted to cure blood disease and developed an experimental treatment involving vampire bats and electroshocks. Its side effects turned him into a pseudo-vampire who needed to consume blood in order to survive, and gained typical vampire characteristics such as an aversion to sunlight and powers of flight, enhanced strength, speed, and healing. His overall appearance changed as well. As you can see here, he looks more like a vampire. He gained fangs, his nose flattened. He appeared more bat-like, and his skin became extremely pale. Additionally, his victims of his bites would turn into living vampires themselves. So when he first experienced the change, he killed Emil as he could not control his bloodlust. When Liza learned of what happened to her brother, she swore revenge on Morpheus. Morbius then traveled by U.S. ship, and his bloodlust, he slaughtered the entire crew. He tried to kill himself, but failed and took to a room at a beach house where he encountered SpiderMan, who was at the time trying to reverse the process that had given him 6 arms. Morbius attacked SpiderMan, but the battle was interrupted by Dr. Connors, who transformed into the Lizard. Oh, okay. Yeah, 2 monsters in this. Meanwhile, Morbius' fiance, Martine Bancroft, tried contacting the Fantastic Four to help Morbius. But the Human Torch sought out Morbius' former colleague, Hans Jorgensen, and joined forces with Spider-Man during another battle with Morbius. I forgot he and the Human Torch were friends, Spider-Man. After Michael's disease took a new course, his hunger started to come faster than before, and he went to Empire State University looking for Dr. Andrea Jansen, but was stopped by Spider-Man again. Though he did manage to bite some of the blood off of him to calm his hunger before escaping. Morbius arrived at Dr. Andrea's office in the science building of Empire State University and explained to her how his feedings satiated his hunger for shorter periods of time. Spider-Man arrived once again, didn't believe Morbius, and claiming that he liked being a living vampire. The two fought, and Morbius was about to kill the hero, but he was stopped by Mary Jane Watson, who told him that he should show he was willing to fight the hunger. Andrea claimed that she would help him and brought him packages of blood so that he wouldn't have to kill, which Michael accepted. In reality, though, Andrea was working for the scientist of Hydra agent, Dr. Loix Crown, who kidnapped Morbius to study him. Spider-Man came to his rescue, but when he was freed, Morbius attacked Crown. As they grappled, the island began to explode, and the result of the explosion, Morbius drained his blood, which later led to him becoming a human vampire like Morbius called Hunger. So he gets his first villain.
Yeah, that's one of them. You'll kind of see once we start going through the characterizations how all these people kind of fall into place within the storyline.
So he always looks like this because
well, at first he looked like a human,
mm-hmm.
and then he went through his change where he was looking like a monster for
mm-hmm.
a time, and then when they were able to kind of calm the virus or his sickness down, he started in the comics. He started looking like a regular man,
mm-hmm.
but he had these features that were
still sort of
basically that's what they're saying. He still kind of looked like a vampire bat. His nose was pushed up and flattened. His ears were a little pointy. He still had fangs, but he could pass for a human. He just looked slightly
spottish.
Yeah. All right. So let's real quick go back on slide. I'm gonna jump into this. I have 3 storylines here that are basically Morbius's main stories throughout his comic career. If you could go back, that's the last.
Yeah, that's what I was. It just keeps going forward. Can you go back? No, you can't because I'm sharing my screen.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. We can just start right here.
No. I want to go back.
All right.
Just hold on. Let's see. Okay. I know. Can I do that?
All right. People just give us a second here.
Yeah.
Trying to get back where we're supposed to be.
Okay. Nope, I just keep going forward.
Okay.
That's crazy. I know what I can do. Which one did you want? There we go.
All right.
All right.
Back to it. Okay, so this right here, this is the actual comic cover for Morbius's first appearance, which was the Amazing Spider-Man World 1.
So that's where you got the 6 arms.
Right, now it was Spider-Man who basically had gone into doing some basic experiments on himself, and just not trying to cure himself. Well, he was trying to cure himself of his spider ailment, but what he did, he basically amped it up, and that's where the 6 arms came from. So he didn't know how to go forward. He could not contact, he's good with a lot of these doctors. I think by this time Doc Ock is on a being somewhere, so he can't deal with him.
Yeah.
He's friends with Kirk Connors, who is the Lizard, but nobody knows he's the Lizard at this time. He still looks. And what he does, Kirk Connors, is basically away and tells Peter, "Hey, look, you can use my lab in my beach house." And he has a full lab that Peter is using. And so one night, Peter has just left up out of the lab, and I guess he, going to his bedroom or whatever, but he hears somebody coming in downstairs, and who this is? This is Morbius. Morbius is just washed up on the beach. Yeah. And he's confused. He's been to Dr. Connor's house before himself. Yeah. So he kind of realizes it, but he does not realize it. He's kind of in a state of confusion. Mm-hmm. And so when he ends up in the house, he attacks SpiderMan. But at that time, Dr. Connors comes home. Morbius scares the hell out of Dr. Connors, which makes him change into the Lizard. And so now they both want to kill Spider-Man for some reason. And that's one of the funniest parts of the book, because now they get into an argument over which one of them is going to kill Spider-Man.
No, I'm going to kill him.
So Spider-Man basically regains his senses and realizes he has to fight Morbius. Yeah. All right, and let's go to the next one. This next one is February 1974, roughly a year later. It's Morbius's first solo story. Now, this story was a lot of characters were introduced. Reverend Damon and the caretakers of Arcturus, which was another planet, basically. It kind of took the storyline. They didn't really go out of space. It was like I want to say it was other dimensional, basically, but it was like being on another planet. And basically, Reverend Damon is trying to use Morbius for a ritual, and he ends up going to the land of the cat people, which is similar to the Savage Land, but it's other dimensional as well. But this ends up bringing Balcatar, which was I guess you can say a cat warrior, who ends up being one of Morbius's comrades all through his storylines. Okay. Now, this is also where Blade is introduced into Morbius's storyline. All right, this last one is the self-titled solo series, and it's actually also the rise of the famous group that Doctor Strange put together, the Midnight Suns. And basically, this is Morbius's current storyline in the comics, where they're battling Lilith and the Demon Horde. Okay. All right, so now we get to Morbius's allies. Martine Bancroft. She was first appearance was Amazing Spider-Man number 102, November 1971. She was the girlfriend and secretary of Nobel Prize-winning scientist Dr. Michael Morbius. She accompanied him and his assistant Emil Nikos on a yacht where they were conducting an experiment to cure Morbius of a degenerative blood disease. When the experiment backfired, it turned Morbius into the living vampire. After killing his assistants, he dove into the water, not wishing to hurt Martine. After finding Nikos' corpse, and after searching Morbius's cabin, she discovered his notes on the experiment that turned him into a living vampire. Martine took the notes to the Baxter building because she also found letters to Reed Richards that Morbius had sent. Martine was later enthralled by Reverend Damon to join the cult of the New Order. The caretakers of Arcturus tracked down Morbius and promised they would help him find his beloved. They summoned Balcatar, who they could help keep Morbius at bay until sunrise, believing him to be like a normal vampire. Martine admitted she joined the group to stop Morbius from hurting anyone else. Balcatar resisted and took Morbius to the land within, the home of the cat people. At a later date, Martine basically used some of Morbius's money to purchase Mason Manor. And this is where he basically formed a lab trying to find his cure. And this is his base of operations. It's around this time that Simon Stroud came to the manor hunting Morbius. And Morbius, basically, Martine allowed Morbius to escape. She was arrested and taken to the local police department where she proved that it was another vampire doing the killing. It was revealed that the manor was haunted, and while she was at the station being questioned, Hell Eyes took her form to lure him to his dimension. Now, this is all in that the Arcturus storyline, but what it does, it fades into a storyline where Morbius basically he didn't turn her. She was turned into a vampire.
Yeah.
And now he done teamed up with Stroud, the CIA agent, basically to take them both down. And when they injected her with Morbius's blood, that almost killed them both. She was cured, but it would not work on Morbius, and he basically escaped before Stroud could turn around and rearrest him.
Yeah.
All
right. And Martine's still around, or no?
No, she is.
Yes. Okay. Right. Next on the list, guy who we've covered on this show. I was about to say podcast. Nope, show already. Which is Doctor Strange. His first appearance was in Strange Tales number 110. It's not have anything to do with his name, but that was April 1963. Doctor Strange is under the impression that there are no vampires left since he spoke to Montesi. Since he spoke to the Montesi formula. He's surprised when a desperate call from his younger brother Vic summons him to the scene of a vampire attack. The ghastly figure that stalks Victor Strange is not a creature of the night, but a mistake of science. Doctor Strange is attacked by Morbius, and a battle ensues. After this battle is won by Doctor Strange, it's revealed that Victor Strange is a vampire and was brought back to life after the Montesi formula was null and void, thereby releasing vampires into the world again. Morbius was attracted to the blood of Vic Strange, and Doctor Strange worked with his brother on his bloodlust and gained him as an ally in his supernatural fight until Vic Strange took his own life after his cravings for blood began to overpower him. Doctor Strange will call on Morbius in the future to help him with other supernatural threats that would arise as a member of the Midnight Sun. And that's Morbius, Doctor Strange, and the Voodoo. Is that Dr.
Oh, that is Brother Voodoo.
Brother Voodoo, who became Dr. Voodoo.
Yes, he also became the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yes.
Dr. Strange. All right, so next up on the list, we have Jack Russell. His first appearance, Marvel Spotlight number 2, February 1972. Now, this is a character that we have covered before as well, the one we did, the Marvel Horror.
Yeah.
Basically, Jack Russell, who was the werewolf by night during the full moon, basically took precautions through the night to up. But he would sometimes escape. During this time, he never took a human life, although several other persons he encountered were scarred or crippled. Now, him being a werewolf was basically hereditary, so nobody changed him into a werewolf. Mysterious beings known as the Three Who Are All, they partially lifted his curse at one time, and at this time he could